Hi friends, what was your last blood pressure reading? Was it just a little high, or was it high enough to genuinely scare you? This was my patient's blood pressure before, and this is her blood pressure now. So what changed? It wasn't a perfect diet, it wasn't a magic food, and it wasn't just cutting salt. What changed was the one thing that most people completely miss. She found the right food replacements, and that is exactly why in this video I'm going to show you the top 10 foods for high blood pressure you shouldn't miss, the same food replacements that helped her keep going even when life got busy and stressful. My name is Dr. Ryan Foster, and I have been a double board certified physician for over 25 years, and you'll be surprised, because one of these foods may sound too simple to matter, but missing it could be the very reason why so many people keep struggling with their blood pressure year after year. In fact, most people always ask me, what do I need to remove? Not realizing that the real missing link is actually the opposite question, which is what has my body been missing all this time? So let's stop focusing only on taking things away, and let's start focusing on how to truly help your arteries, relax your kidneys, release the extra sodium and fluid, improve your insulin resistance, reduce your inflammation, and give your body the essential minerals and fiber that it has been missing for years. And the best part about these natural solutions is that they help keep you full. They help your body release that extra fluid, and most importantly, they start filling up what I like to call your health savings bank, because every single meal either puts you in debt or deposits health. Now, number one on our list is lentils. If you've ever eaten lentils at an Indian or Pakistani restaurant, then you already know just how tasty lentils can be when they are cooked with the right spices. Lentils are one of the best blood pressure lowering foods in the world because they give you potassium, magnesium, fiber, protein, and slow digesting carbohydrates, all packed into one single food. And the best part about them is that they are incredibly easy to make, roughly 15 minutes on the stovetop, boiled in water, and you can add them to almost any sauce you like now for long-term success. Lower blood pressure can never be achieved by just one chemical or one single nutrient. It takes many different nutrients all working together, and that is exactly why we need to eat whole foods. And here's a bonus: when you add spices to your lentils, you triple and even quadruple the anti-inflammatory power of that food, depending on how many spices you decide to use, and you already know how easy it is to just add a pinch of this and a pinch of that. So here is a simple curry lentil recipe that happens to be one of my favorite ways to eat lentils. The whole recipe takes roughly 5 minutes to prep, and then you cook it for about 20 to 25 minutes. Now, if you don't have that much time, simply use red lentils, because they cook in 15 to 20 minutes, and if you want it softer or more stew-like, just cook it a little longer, maybe an extra 10 minutes. Now, if you use brown or green lentils, that's going to be about 25 to 30 minutes, and if you really think about it, it will probably take you an entire hour to drive to the store, order your food, wait for that food to be cooked, and then drive all the way back home with it. So it's really not that convenient after all. But the worst part about modern foods is that they may look complete, but they truly aren't, because they actually worsen your insulin resistance, they make you gain weight, and they drive inflammation, which all makes your arteries stiffer and harder over time. So we really need to change our definition of food, because something that doesn't add to your health savings bank, but instead taxes it, is not really food. It's almost like eating paper. It's technically edible, but is it really food? And when you eat whole foods like lentils, you are giving your body a very different message. You start building up your health savings bank, you get your kidneys to release that trapped sodium and water, and you help your blood vessels relax. And you already know how it does that through the incredible power of potassium, because lentils are naturally very high in potassium. And here is another bonus: they can be turned into bread, pancakes, and even wraps to give you different textures and different looks. And unlike modern day breads, lentils actually prevent you from overeating your food. You see, regular breads are often full of chemicals, sodium and sugar that make you hungrier, which ends up making you eat far more than you should, which makes you gain more weight than you should, and keeps your blood pressure elevated. But if you actually made your bread out of lentils, they would help you feel fuller for much longer, because they are so high in protein and so high in fiber. And another important issue is that when you are not full, you are much more likely to reach for those salty processed snacks later, which just elevates your blood pressure, your weight, and your insulin resistance. But lentils create a healthy domino effect, almost like interest growing inside your bank. They help with fullness, they reduce the snacking, which reduces your sodium intake, which supports your weight control, which reduces inflammation, which all helps reduce your blood pressure and keeps it normal. You can make lentil soup, lentil curry, lentil pasta, lentil tacos, and you can even blend red lentils into a beautifully creamy soup. And the best part is that lentils cook much faster than most beans, so this is really not a complicated or difficult food to prepare at all. This is truly one of the foods that I would call a blood pressure foundation food, and often I cook my lentils in broth and eat them almost like rice, and if you add garlic, onions, basil, and tomato sauce, it suddenly becomes a delicious sauce for spaghetti or on top of your rice. But before we move on, here is a part that I don't think most people ever realize. When you eat food, it actually comes with a set of instructions specifically to talk to your immune system and, of course, to your organs. And the end result are these objective markers, like your blood pressure, your weight, your insulin levels, your blood sugar, your cholesterol, and other inflammatory markers. So the real question is, what kind of instructions are you actually eating? And this is exactly why lentils are so powerful, because they give your body instructions on what to do with the other nutrients that are already inside your body. You see, because lentils are so packed with potassium, they actually instruct your body to get rid of that excess sodium that traps in the fluid. And in addition, the fiber, the magnesium, the slow carbohydrates, and the protein, they all instruct your body to reduce inflammation. And besides the potassium talking directly to your kidneys, the fiber talks to your gut, the magnesium talks to your blood vessels to help them relax the slow carbohydrates, protect your insulin, and of course the protein contributes to your fullness. So all of these nutrients work together to lower your blood pressure even more. But when these nutrients are missing, your body will stay stuck in a processed food instruction stage that only encourages fluid retention, inflammation, and vascular stiffness. So please remember, every single food sends a message. Processed food gives the instruction to hold sodium, hold fluid, inflame, and tighten. But lentils tell your body to release, relax, and recover. And that is exactly how I want you to start thinking about every blood pressure lowering food from now on. So number 2 is to chew on crunchy raw vegetables like carrots, celery, cucumbers, bell peppers, and snap peas. Now I know raw vegetables just sound way too simple, but that is exactly why they work so well. They are crunchy, they are full of water, they are low in calories, and they take real time to chew. Therefore, they help you replace the entire texture of chips, crackers, pretzels, and all those other salty snacks. Raw vegetables also bring you potassium and fiber. And remember, fiber helps with your fullness, your gut health, your cholesterol, your insulin sensitivity, and your weight control. But weight control is never separate from blood pressure. Therefore, even a modest amount of weight loss can genuinely improve your blood pressure numbers. And potassium is so important because it helps balance out your sodium. But the problem is that so many people get all their sodium from snacks and completely miss the potassium from plants. Therefore, if you find yourself hungry between meals, please do not start with a protein bar or a bag of chips. Instead, start with a bowl of crunchy vegetables paired with something blood pressure friendly, like a bowl of hummus, maybe a white bean dip, or a lentil spread, instead of a typical high-sodium salad dressing. And did you know that the more you actually chew your food, the sooner you are going to feel full, because chewing helps release those satiety hormones that tell your brain, hey, you've eaten enough now. But constant snacking and overeating in one single sitting are two of the biggest contributors to weight gain. Therefore, crunchy vegetables are not just a boring side dish, they are incredibly convenient with almost no prep, except for you simply washing them. You don't even really have to cut them if you're eating them by yourself, and they can be eaten at any time of the day or night, and they are a real strategy for building your health savings. So number 3 on the list are chickpeas. Chickpeas are another amazing food that does so many jobs all at once. They give you fiber, potassium, magnesium, protein, and resistant starch, but their real power is that they can replace those higher sodium and higher fat foods because they can be eaten creamy salty or even creamy and sweet. Have you ever heard of hummus? Here is one of the simplest gourmet hummus recipes out there, and the secret key is to actually blend your hummus with a few ice cubes. And how about something sweet? Have you ever tried chocolate hummus? Well, here is another recipe for you, and you can eat chickpeas in soups, salads, and curries, or roasted as a crunchy snack made from your very own homemade hummus that will cost you just quarters compared to buying the store-bought version. Garbanzo beans are super convenient, and you can find them in almost any supermarket, but please try to buy the low-sodium to no-salt added garbanzo beans whenever possible, and rinse them very well, because rinsing helps reduce the salt, and it also helps wash away some of the particles from the canning liquid. Now, if you are truly trying to lower your blood pressure, then what you eat with your chickpeas is just as important, because I see so many chickpea snacks on the market, and I know they are super tasty, but the problem is that many of them have far too much salt-saturated fat, like coconut oil or sugar, and sometimes they even contain emulsifiers, so you really have to be careful, because they may look healthy and be expensive, but they may not actually be healthy at all. So keep it simple, folks, and that We'll also keep it cheap. Just make your own in the oven or air fryer for a fraction of the price and season them with those anti-inflammatory spices. And by the way, if you are finding value in my videos, could you please quickly check if you are subscribed, because when you like, comment, and subscribe, it genuinely helps my videos reach other people who need them. And if you are already subscribed, then thank you so very much for joining me to change the world together. Now number 4 is one of my absolute favorite fruits, watermelon. Watermelon is mostly water, but it also contains potassium and a special amino acid called citrulline. Now citrulline can be converted by your body into arginine, and arginine helps your body make nitric oxide, and nitric oxide is one of those incredible molecules that helps relax your blood pressure because it relaxes your arteries. But watermelon isn't magic all by itself. It simply cannot be powerful enough to counteract all the foods that keep your blood pressure elevated. Therefore, it is important to think of watermelon as a replacement food, because watermelon can replace desserts, candies, sweet drinks, and salty snacks. It gives you hydration, sweetness, potassium, and citrulline without any added sugar. And now if you have diabetes, it is really important to understand that fruit is not the enemy for you, but fruit should replace those less healthy foods that are made from refined flour, sugar, and fat. And when fruit does that, or when fruit displaces cookies, candy, pastries, sodas, and salty snacks, it can genuinely help you normalize your health markers, including your hemoglobin A1C, your blood sugars, your blood pressure, your weight, and your overall metabolic health. And hi friends, I am so thrilled that you want to take charge of your health and take charge of your food. I know nutrition can feel complex, but it really doesn't have to be, and I am here to support you throughout this lifelong journey. Now number 5 are raisins. Raisins are a concentrated fruit because all the water is gone, so portion size does matter here. They are not low in calories like fresh grapes, but they can still be very useful, especially when you are in a rush and you can't find any fresh fruit around. Just think about it. Your real-life choices are grabbing raisins, and walnuts or grabbing cookies, candies, chips, and pastries. So which one is genuinely healthier? Of course it's the raisins, because they have potassium, they have resveratrol, they have that natural sweetness and fiber, and they are portable, shelf stable, and so easy to keep in a bag or in your car. So just remember that they are far more concentrated than grapes, because they are missing all the water, so you always want to pair them with other things like nuts or oatmeal or other high-fiber foods. It is always ideal to eat real food and to eat it low in sodium, and not to eat it alongside refined flour and sugar. Now number 6 are nitrate-rich vegetables, and this is honestly one of the most important categories for blood pressure that people constantly miss. Nitrate-rich vegetables help your body make nitric oxide, and nitric oxide helps your blood vessels relax and open up, and you cannot store nitric oxide. These foods include beets, beet greens, arugula, spinach, Swiss chard, celery, lettuce, bok choy, and other leafy greens. And if you currently have high blood pressure, then you are probably not eating nearly enough of these. But this is very different from processed meats like lunch meats with nitrates that you find in the deli section, even if it's gourmet or so-called naturally made with celery juice. The problem is what those nitrates are packaged with, because when nitrates sit together with protein, they become a carcinogenic compound called nitrosamines, and that is a very real problem. So it's really the packaging of the nitrates that is so critical in determining whether it is a health food or a harmful food, because vegetable nitrates come naturally packaged with antioxidants, vitamin C, potassium, magnesium, and fiber, and that entire food matrix truly matters. Vegetables are also very low in protein, so they are not going to be forming those nitrosamines like animal meat does. But here is another key point. Your mouth bacteria actually help you convert nitrate into nitrite, which then makes that nitric oxide. But if you are constantly using some strong antibacterial mouthwash that kills 99.9% of germs, then you are going to destroy that entire pathway. Therefore, dietary nitrates from vegetables have been strongly linked to vascular benefits, including blood pressure reduction, and beetroot has been the single best studied vegetable so far, so it is always good to aim for nitrate-rich vegetables and to eat them regularly multiple times throughout your day. Now number 7, try some ground flaxseed. Flaxseed is one of my favorite go-to items to instantly upgrade any meal, whether savory or sweet. Just sprinkle it right on your food, and you get yourself a powerful blood pressure-lowering anti-inflammatory blend with an entire array of nutrients that includes fiber, lignans, magnesium, and omega-3 fats. But the best part is that you can take these flax seeds absolutely anywhere. Just grind them up before you take them, because it can't be whole flax seeds, since you probably won't digest them properly, and they'll just pass right through your system. So use 1 to 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed with your oatmeal, your smoothies, or your soups. They are delicious, and you can even use it as a binder or an egg substitute for baking. Now, flax seeds don't look like much, and they really don't taste like anything at all, but they provide significant reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure numbers among people with high blood pressure, so this is truly one of the strongest foods on our entire list today. Now, number 8 is beet juice, but you have to use the right amount. Beet juice is actually incredibly powerful because it is so concentrated in dietary nitrates, and some blood pressure studies have found that about 250 milliliters a day, which is roughly about 1 cup, is what you really need. It may not taste so great, but it is a powerful blood pressure lowering food. However, more is not always better. Therefore, if you want to start, smaller than half a cup is a very reasonable dose, especially if you are already eating other nitrate-rich vegetables. Now, beet juice may help your blood vessels relax through nitric oxide. However, if you have kidney stones, then overdoing the beet juice may contribute to that. And beet juice can also turn your urine or your stool red, which honestly scares a lot of people, so just be sure to expect it, and don't panic when it happens, but still see your doctor, just to make sure. And one more thing, please, don't add any sugar, because beet juice is already naturally quite sweet, and remember, 1 single day of it isn't going to do the trick. These clinical studies had people drinking beet juice for about 4 weeks straight, and the best thing about beet juice is that it is so common now, you can find it in many supermarkets, and if you can't find it, then simply boil some beets, or you can even eat them raw. Now, number 9 is arugula. Arugula is peppery, a little bitter, and a little sharp, and that flavor is actually a clue that this plant is so rich in plant compounds. It is also one of those leafy greens known to be very high in nitrate, but the true beauty of arugula is that you don't even have to cook it. You can put it under your beans, on top of your lentil soup, inside a wrap, mixed with pasta, blended into pesto, or even added into a smoothie if your family absolutely refuses to chew. They're greens, and I love arugula because it makes taste so much more fun and interesting. That peppery kick really stimulates my taste buds without needing any more salt or sugar. So how about trying arugula with lemon, vinegar, beans, potatoes, or whole grains, and building yourself a plate that supports nitric oxide production, potassium balance, fiber, and weight control all at the very same time. And if you boil some beets, chop them up, and put them on top of that salad, you suddenly have a plate full of potassium, fiber, nitrates, texture, sweetness, and crunch. So please get creative, because all of your sauces and dressings can be super nutritious, and I know some people just don't like raw vegetables, and in some countries eating raw vegetables can increase the risk of infections or parasites because the water supply is contaminated, so it is always super important to wash your vegetables in clean water, discard any damaged leaves, soak and swish your leafy greens, and always try to use clean water whenever possible. And this finally brings us to number 10, which is cooked vegetables, because cooked vegetables are actually absolutely okay, and some are even better with more nutrients when you cook them, because the heat actually releases certain nutrients, and then if you add a little oil, it releases even more of those fat-soluble nutrients. Now, the real problem is that so many people eat little to no vegetables, and they think a simple fiber supplement will just do the trick, but what they don't realize is that they are leaving behind all those critical nutrients. The nitric oxides support the potassium, the magnesium, the hydration, the water, the fiber, and all those other plant compounds that we can't even name because we don't fully know all of them yet, and they all help reduce inflammation and your blood pressure, and the goal is never to be perfect. The goal is simply to start by adding and building in more vegetables, because every single family struggles with vegetables. That is honestly the hardest thing to do, so sometimes just sneak the vegetables into your soups, sauces, lentils, and pastas. So instead of giving up because your family won't eat that steamed broccoli, use a little strategy. Shave your broccoli crowns down so small there is no way they can pick it out. You can dice your vegetables so tiny that it becomes so hard to see, and you can even hide them inside your baking. And another way I love to hide them is inside my smoothies. I make a kale blueberry smoothie, and it hides that kale extremely well. So remember, the goal is not to win the argument about vegetables. The real goal is to get your body to release that sodium, feed your gut microbiome, improve your insulin sensitivity, reduce your inflammation, and support your blood pressure for long-term health. So if you want to lower your blood pressure naturally, then please do not just ask, what do I need to remove? Instead, you should always ask, what do I need to add back? So start adding those lentils, crunchy vegetables, chickpeas, watermelon, and even raisins, because when you eat them, they are not just portable, convenient foods, they are truly your foundation. But we all know you only have so much time in a single day to chew, so it really is important to know exactly which foods are the healthiest ones for you to eat, and if you want to learn even more about that, then go ahead and watch my next video right now.